Welcome to Real Life Beyond Faith, where a formerly Christian, currently atheist couple takes a deep dive into the experience of life after deconversion. This is episode 35. I'm your host, Jenica Crail.
And I'm your host, Patrick Crail.
Hey, guys.
Hey, we're back. Just kidding,
Patrick's
we're still here.
favorite thing to say. This week, we're going to do a Q&A. I posted on Facebook for our listeners and friends to give us questions, any questions regarding any topic. It doesn't even have to have anything to do with religion or non-religion. And several of you asked us some great questions. So we're going to go through those tonight. It's been a little while since we've done a Q&A, so we thought we would do our third Q&A. I believe this is our third, right?
Something like that.
We've done two before, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a hot minute. We've
Plus
done a
they're
lot
fun.
of, yeah, it is fun. And it makes us think. I love that. I love like reading the questions and being like, oh,
Yeah.
I haven't really thought of that one before. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's some thinkers in there.
Yeah. So yeah, so it gives you guys kind of an opportunity to get to know us a little bit better. It gives us a chance to hear our own voices, which we clearly like.
Obviously. Plus, it helps other people who might be wondering the same thing, and maybe they can gain some perspective.
Yeah.
Possibly. Not
Yeah.
that we have perspective, but
Well, to a degree we do, because we've been doing this podcast for a little while now.
yeah.
And we've had a lot of great guests on. We've learned from those guests. We listen to a lot of podcasts. We've learned a ton from podcasts.
Audiobooks.
We've learned, from books, blog posts. Like we have jumped, and conferences.
Right.
We've learned a ton at conferences. So to a degree, yeah, we do have a bit of perspective because we have kind of dove in with both feet. If you can dive with feet, I feel like you dive in with both hands.
Yes.
You know
that
what
is
I'm
true.
saying? You dive in with all of your limbs. That's what we did.
Yeah. We went in with those.
With all of this.
All of them.
Oh my God. This
You
is
get
off
what
to
we
a
mean.
great start.
Yeah. Because we're professionals.
Yes, clearly.
But yeah, hopefully we'll have some good answers for you.
Yeah,
We'll see.
hopefully.
We'll see how it goes.
Maybe we'll just have total shit answers for you.
Yeah.
And all of our patrons will just unsubscribe
Yep.
and everyone will shun us because our answers were so terrible.
We'll get all 1-star ratings and
Yeah.
horrible reviews.
I feel like that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get right to it. Actually, do we have anything going on in our lives right now? I feel like, oh, well, I've got my new job.
Yeah.
That's going really well. I haven't really talked about that on the podcast, I don't think.
Yeah. Where'd you get your new job?
Bar
I mean,
Louie.
I know, but I don't know if everyone
Dude,
else
don't
knows.
you know where I'm working?
Hey, where are you going tonight?
What are you doing? Where do you even get money? I mean, keep doing it, but
Yeah.
no, yeah, I work on the corner outside of Bar Louie.
It's more like a circle.
Yeah. Anywho, yeah. So I told you guys about quitting my other job and how I just kind of randomly decided not to go back anymore because it wasn't a healthy environment for me. Well, it only actually took me a week and 2 days to find a new job. Sadly, that week and 2 days, well, it actually ended up being like 2 weeks that I wasn't working and making cash. That set us back quite a bit. But I think we're finally catching up a little bit. We still have a bit of catch up to do.
We're getting there.
But it feels really good to work at a place that I actually thoroughly enjoy. I really like the people I work with and work for, which is new and exciting.
Yeah. It's a change.
I make better money there. I like the clientele better. It's better all around. So
It's a nicer
I'm really
area
excited.
too.
So thank you for all your thoughts and prayers. Oh, wait, I actually just had to like fill out applications and make phone calls and go to an interview. It turns out
Yeah, and take care of it
no
yourself.
thoughts and prayers needed. Imagine that. So I think that's the most exciting new bit of information we have going on.
Yeah, it's been pretty normal lately here. Nothing too exciting.
Yep. All work and no play, pretty much.
Some play.
Well, we
went to go see a movie.
Yeah, we saw A Quiet Place. That was epic.
Yeah, that movie was intense.
So good.
Yeah. Go see it if you haven't. I recommend it.
Yeah. It's always nice when we can find a babysitter last minute. Like if we decide, ooh, let's try to make it to $5 movie night.
Right. Yeah, and we're actually close to the theater now.
Yeah. So I texted one of the teenage girls who sometimes babysits for us, and she was available. So we went and saw it, and it was super great.
Yep.
Anything new in your life, Patrick?
Not really.
All right, moving on.
The Penguins moved on to the next round, so that's exciting.
Nobody cares.
Everybody cares.
Nope.
Jeff cares. Zach cares.
Well, have a little powwow with that.
Chris secretly cares.
Secretly.
Yes. I hope you're listening, Chris. That one's for you. And I broke my stick this weekend playing hockey, which has lasted me for like at least 15 years. So I feel like it's put in its time.
You've had that for 15 years?
Probably at least.
Holy crap. I thought you got it at like Play Against Sports or something.
No, I got that stick new when I was a teenager playing street hockey.
Oh, that is really sad that it broke then.
Yeah. So now I need a new stick.
Yeah. That's all right. You can get one of the nice new ones that's like lighter weight.
Yeah. My old stick was made of wood, which they don't do anymore. So it was heavy. And when I went to borrow someone else's stick to play the rest of the game, it's like, holy crap, this is super light. It was weird.
Yeah, so now you can get one of those.
Yeah.
You'll have to like adjust your
that'll
game.
be weird. Anyways, so let's move on to the questions, shall we?
We shall. Let's do it.
Right now?
Right now.
Shit. Okay.
Why?
Just kidding. All right, so speaking of hockey, our first actual question comes from Jeff Prebeg, who I mentioned talking about hockey just a minute ago. He's the Pittsburgh atheist, and he is a fellow Penguins fan like me because I'm from Pittsburgh. So he asks if I would prefer the Penguins playing the Capitals or the Penguins playing the Blue Jackets for the next round. Tough call. Capitals always give us trouble, but it's always so satisfying to see them lose. Blue Jackets, I would say Blue Jackets. I feel like that would be an easier route.
I want to answer this one too.
Yeah, you answer.
Okay, I'm going to go with the Pens versus the Capitals because I like to imagine it's like the Hunger Games and all of the hockey players are like dressed like the Capital people.
Yeah.
So that would be a really exciting game for me. I like full glam makeup looks. So if I could just like envision all of the hockey players in full glam, I feel like that would be a lot better.
I seriously doubt that would happen. Just saying.
Maybe I should take some acid first and it might happen for real.
Yeah, maybe. The star player for the Penguins and the star player for the Capitals are kind of like rivals. So
wow, that'd be a better game then. Because there might be a fight.
And shoot, I can't remember. I think we beat them last year to move into the playoffs. I could be wrong. I don't remember at the top of my head. But Blue Jackets are from Columbus. So either way.
We're close to Columbus.
Yeah. I said Blue Jackets.
Okay, good story, bruh. Let's move on. Megan says, can y'all move to Maryland and hang out with me all the time? Yes, Megan.
We will.
We are
pack up our
actually
stuff.
Packing while we're doing this.
Yeah. We have headset microphones that we're actually walking around and like, yeah. So if you hear us get winded,
this is what's happening right
and like
now.
breathing hard,
I'm packing stuff.
But yeah, we should go visit Maryland sometime.
Duh. We're moving there. We just said yes.
All right. Rich wants to know, I think you've touched on this topic before, but how are you ensuring your kids are challenged and questioned so that they develop critical thinking skills?
Yeah, this is one that we've talked about a couple of times, but I feel like it's something that definitely warrants being repeated multiple times. My big thing is I want to teach my kids how to think, not what to think.
Right.
I want
That's
to
so important.
instill the skills to know how to question.
Like critical thinking skills?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Shut up. Well, like, okay, yesterday we were at the humanist dinner that we go to every other week with Bart Campolo and a group of people in the Cincinnati area. And at the table when we were eating dinner, some of us were talking about Camp Quest and how one of the things that they teach the kids there is to question everything, question authority, question everything. I think I said that. But when she was talking about that, this was like one of the directors of Camp Quest. She was talking about that. And I said, it's still so strange to me to hear that phrase, like that you're going to encourage kids to question authority. Because to me, it's still so ingrained in my head that you just obey authority. You don't question authority. That's disrespectful, Like, I don't actually believe that, but that's what I was taught growing up, and it was just like so hammered into my head. And now we're adopting the idea that, yeah, absolutely, kids need to be able to question everything, and that includes authority, that includes their textbook. You need to fact check everything and make sure that what you're learning is actually factually true.
Speaking of, let me pull it up real quick. I started reading a book recently that touches on that subject. It's called Lies My Teacher Taught Me.
We actually discovered one of those that one of my college professors told me it turned out not to be true. I was telling the boys about it tonight at bedtime, and Patrick's like, that's not true. I'm like, I learned it in nursing school. He's like, they were wrong.
Yeah. All right. The book is actually called Lies My Teacher Told Me. Everything Your American History Textbook Got Wrong. And it's been really intriguing so far, just talking about like everything that is wrong that we learn in textbooks that we think is true, like talking about Christopher Columbus and how that all went down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we think it's some happy story where he like comes over,
makes friends with the Pilgrims, or wait, they are the Pilgrims.
No. Yeah.
Makes friends with the
Native
Americans. Native Americans,
yes. And they teach each other things, and they're all buddy, and that's how we got Thanksgiving. No, not true. But yeah, very interesting book, and a prime example of questioning authority and like actually looking into things on your own.
Yeah. And like, okay, so like a practical way that we do that is when the boys ask us a question, sometimes I'll answer with a question. Like, well, what do you think about that?
Mm-hmm.
And give them an opportunity to kind of think for themselves and figure out, okay, well, what makes sense? And then answer the question. And then I can kind of like ask them more questions, or I can just correct whatever they said, or I can say, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And then explain why the correct answer is right, or why they might be wrong. And
that's for like, something where there actually is a correct answer. If it's something more abstract, like they haven't asked this question yet, but like, are there ghosts or are there spirits? Like, that's something I want them to decide for themselves what they believe about. I'm not just going to be like, no. I mean, I've told them that ghosts aren't a thing. I think it's important for them to not be afraid of invisible things at this age. But there may come a time when they believe in stuff like that. And honestly, I feel like it's kind of harmless to have some beliefs like that. Some of those beliefs can be quite harmful and can like cause fear, and like some woo beliefs can lead you to make poor medical decisions, things like that. So definitely don't hear me saying that some of those beliefs are not harmful and be like, girl. Yeah, they are. Yeah. No, I totally understand. A lot of them are very harmful. But I think that the boys need to be able to make up their own minds about that kind of stuff. And so all I want to do is teach them how to think and how to, you know, recognize their own biases and how easily the mind can be misled. And hopefully that'll stick with them for life and they'll make better decisions than I did.
Yeah. That's all we can hope for.
Yeah. That's my biggest hope, is that they just do a better job than I've done.
And if that's the kind of mindset that we as parents have collectively, then the world could be a better place. Like, I know that sounds very idealistic and like kumbaya, but yeah, if that mindset is what you adopt to try to raise your kids, then it can only get better from there.
Yeah. We just need more parents to adopt that.
Right.
So that kids will learn how to distinguish between facts and alternative facts.
Like the size of an inauguration crowd.
Yeah. Or the existence of climate change.
Yeah. Alternative facts. Because there can be more than one fact about the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Conflicting facts.
Yeah. All right. Moving on.
Leah asked, what are you planning to assign us for the... Wait. Oh.
Go on. Finish it.
What are you planning to assign us for the reading for our first reading small group?
So this goes back to yesterday, actually.
Yeah,
when we went to the humanist dinner.
I'm supposed to pick like a blog post or an article or something for us to read and then discuss in a little small group get together. And we're actually having it at our house. So yeah, I should probably get on that. I was totally going to do that today, and then I passed out.
Like sleeping, not like...
Yeah, I was like straight up passed out. Now I fell asleep. Dang it. I've been so tired lately. I'm having issues with fatigue. Yeah, I don't know, Leah. I'll get on it.
Yeah. Tim asked us, Skyline or Gold Star? All right, so a little bit of backstory. It's a Cincinnati thing. It's Skyline chili or Gold Star. And it sounds super weird, but it's spaghetti with chili and cheese and like onions if you want. But yeah, it's a thing. Instead of putting sauce on the pasta, they put chili. Yeah, and the reason why he's asking Skyline or Gold Star is because both places do basically the same thing. Yeah, they're competitors. Only Skyline is far superior. So I don't really eat it that much because I always feel like crap afterwards. I'll get a random craving for like Skyline, but if I'm going to eat it, Skyline for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I actually grew up on Skyline chili, even though I lived in Cleveland. There was one up there in Parma, I believe. And we lived in Parma. And we would go there so often that the people who worked there actually started to recognize us. And they gave me and two of my brothers free t-shirts. And nice. They were way too big on us, so we wore them as nightgowns. Yeah, but I love Skyline. I always have. And I only sometimes feel like crap after eating it. Yeah, last time I ate it kind of ruined me. I don't know if it was the
Oh,
cause,
yeah, you got sick.
but I got sick after eating it the one night, and I haven't eaten Skyline since.
Holy crap, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was
Probably
I would
about
say
a year ago.
6 months to a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not quite a year.
Let's go get some Skyline after this.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm kind of craving it now. Thanks, Tim. Johnny Pike always has great questions. So he said, are there any issues that the two of you disagree on? For example, Brittany and I don't come to the same conclusion on zoos, animals, but we both understand each other's view. How much or what kind of pushback would you give it? Oh, this is a separate question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do one.
Going back to the first. So, are there any issues that we disagree on? I don't think so.
Not anymore, at least. That I can think of.
Yeah, I feel like once you took the plunge into atheism, we pretty much agreed on everything.
Yeah. Plus, there was the whole, like, do we vaccinate or not? Like, is it good for them? Is it not?
Oh, right. Yeah, I was a dum-dum and didn't think that vaccines were good. And Patrick was like, I think we better vaccinate. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And I was the more passionate one, so we just went with what I said. And then later down the road, I realized that I was a dum-dum. And so
Turns out I was right.
I brought Jameson in for his vaccinations. Ethan had already gotten his vaccinations when he was born.
Yeah. We kind of did things differently with Jameson.
Yeah, we were going the more natural route, which in a lot of ways was really good. And I really enjoyed his birth a lot more than Ethan's and stuff like that. But as far as vaccines go, get your kids vaccinated.
It's not necessarily only for them. Like, it's for everybody.
Yeah. Herd immunity.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one thing that we like sort of disagreed on. And then, of course, I was an atheist before you were, so we disagreed on that for a while. Yeah,
and the issues that kind of like go along with religion or non-religion.
Right. I started opening up my mind about sexuality a little bit before you did, about like, you know, what kind of relationships can actually work with people. Like, I started learning about people who are polyamorous or non-monogamous and thinking like, oh, wow, yeah, that actually is like a viable way to live. And you were a little bit more hesitant at first on that one, but now we agree on that too.
So yeah, pretty much everything else we agree on.
Yeah, we've gotten really lucky in that way. We agree on pretty much everything regarding parenting. Everything politically. We've kind of just grown together. We're one of those like lucky couples. We've been really lucky with that. Mm-hmm. We just keep like learning and discovering things together and then changing our minds on things together. I hope this trend continues.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah, it's cool because if an issue comes up, we actually sit down and talk about it and offer up different alternatives or like thoughts on it.
Yeah.
And kind of like figure out where we stand on things and how
and
we
why.
Can learn and evolve.
It's kind of the whole critical thinking thing.
Yeah.
Like, we've learned how to think and how to make decisions on what's good and what's not, what's okay and what's not. And so we have discussions, sometimes lengthy discussions, and usually come out on the same side of it.
Yeah. And it's a good thing to be able to entertain a thought that you might not agree with. Like, you can still talk about it or think about it.
Right.
Without it, like,
driving a wedge or something.
Yeah, or undoing yourself, like changing yourself completely, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's okay to think about different concepts that you don't agree with.
Yeah. And I think we've become so open-minded that pretty much everything is on the table for analysis. Like, everything we can look at and try to look at it from an objective perspective and figure out, okay, from a moral standpoint, coming from a secular humanist perspective, what are our thoughts about this?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of cool. It allows us to think about and explore different ideas that we wouldn't typically think about.
Yeah. One of the things that we changed, and thankfully together, was our stance on spanking, because the research shows that spanking is not beneficial to children. And so we both backed off of spanking. And it's like, it's not one of those things where we can really, we could have argued about it, but the evidence is there. The research is there. So once we see that, it's like, okay, well, we need to figure out a different way to discipline the boys, or like to rear them, which is
we're still
tricky.
Learning.
Yeah, it's tricky because, we were both raised with spanking. And so that's how we know how to, discipline a child. So then when the boys are just being like out of control and we can't get them to stop doing a thing, it's like, well, what do we say? What do we do? Like if they're in their beds and they're being loud and not going to sleep and screaming or fighting, it's like, I'm not going to tell them they're in timeout. They're already kind of in timeout. They're in their bed.
Yeah.
So now we have to be more creative with like figuring out, how can we teach them that they need to, listen and go to sleep and stop fighting.
Yeah. I typically use the separate method, like put one of them in a different room for a little bit so that they can stop playing, stop talking, and actually go to sleep.
Yeah.
That seems to work pretty well.
Yeah. But it's forced us to get more creative.
Yeah, for sure. And another trick is some of the consequences for them don't make it convenient or enjoyable for us.
Right.
Like taking away toys or technology from them, like no TV or no tablet. It makes it a little bit more trickier for us because then
they bug us more, is what you're trying to say. Yeah. If they're sitting there playing on a tablet, it's like, okay, I've got some free time. If they're grounded from their tablet, it's like, well, crap. He's going to be following me around, asking me for things. This sounds terrible, but if you're a parent, you know exactly what we're talking about. Sometimes you just want a minute to yourself. Or like, hell, sometimes I just want a whole day or a whole week to myself. I'm not going to put them in front of the TV all day, but an hour in front of the TV is like, miracle. Gives me a minute to like sit down and have a snack where, I don't have to get up every 2 seconds and get them a snack.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny. We got completely on a tangent about raising kids, and we're here trying
how'd that happen?
We're trying to talk about where we agree and disagree.
Well, we're still talking about that.
Yeah, I think it's really, really cool and really important for people to be able to disagree and to still remain civil and understanding. Like what Johnny is saying about him and Brittany. They disagree about like zoos and animals and that stuff, and yet they still see each other's viewpoints and respect it. Like they can understand each other's sides. I think that's crucial, especially if you're in an interfaith relationship where one person believes one thing and another person believes something else. You guys need to be able to communicate openly, to be honest, but also to be understanding and respectful. So even though Patrick and I don't have anything that we seriously disagree on, we are prepared for that to someday be a reality. And I want to be able to be someone who will respect and listen and be open-minded with whatever he has learned. In a lot of ways, we have learned things and then we disagree for a moment until we talk about it and end up agreeing. But during that little bit of time, we respect each other's, viewpoints. And then, for us, we've ended up coming together on it. But
but that doesn't even happen that often because we are usually pretty agreeable.
Yeah, we got lucky.
Yeah.
All right, so Johnny's next question was, how much or what kind of pushback would you give if one of your kids came out as a believer?
Good question.
Okay, so there's the outward reaction that I would have, and then there's the inward reaction that I would have. Inwardly, I would honestly be disappointed. It's not what I believe, and I think in a lot of ways being religious is harmful. Believing in things that are not true, that are not founded upon evidence, is harmful. It kind of depends on what it is. Like, are they becoming a believer in an organized religion? Because, that's one thing. If they get to a point where they believe that there's, spiritual energy and that aligning chakras is a thing, it's like, well, it's kind of weird, but it's not really going to harm you unless you think that aligning your chakras is going to cure your cancer, something like that. Like, that's one thing.
Right.
I will be disappointed inwardly. Outwardly, I will express respect for them and their right to hold whatever beliefs they want. But I will definitely not shy away from challenging their conclusions. Now, only to a point, because I don't want to proselytize atheism. I will ask questions. I will have conversations. I will, ask them, where is, the evidence that is supporting their claims? Why do they believe what they believe? Is it based on evidence, or is it just a feeling in their heart or something like that? And just have good, respectful, honest conversations. And I feel by that point, if they are making decisions like that, they're at a point where they're able to have like deep, good conversations and explain to me where they're coming from. And I imagine that I'll probably have a really good relationship with my boys, because I'm going to leave that door open for conversation. And I want them to know that they can come to me and not be worried about me freaking out or something. I want them to be able to tell me anything. So hopefully they'll feel really comfortable telling me something like that, and they won't think, oh my God, my atheist mom is going to be so pissed or she's going to freak out on me. Like, I'm not going to be that person. And I want to make sure that they always know that I'm not going to be that person.
Yeah. This kind of goes back to the first question you asked, Johnny. I feel the same way pretty much about if they were to come and tell us that, oh, hey, I believe in God now. Yeah, I'm not gonna like yell at them or disown them as a child like a lot of parents do. But, well, not in this case as much. It's more like the opposite situation. Anyways, yeah, I would ask them lots of questions and try to ask them how they came to that conclusion and why they feel that way, and kind of like you said, challenge them. But at the same time, we don't want to be indoctrinating them with other stuff besides religion. We want to teach them critical thinking skills, think for themselves, challenge the beliefs that they may or may not have. I think it's a healthy thing.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm not going to go into those conversations with them without an open mind. I mean,
right.
I want to go into every conversation I ever have with an open mind and be willing to learn. It's possible that they may have discovered something, Like, I want to be open to that evidence. Highly doubt it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the point of being a skeptic, is you better have really, really great proof, really, really solid evidence for something supernatural.
I mean, hell, we used to be religious, so if they were to find Christianity, it wouldn't be something that we weren't familiar with or know about.
Right.
But it might not be Christianity. It might be Mormonism or
Buddhism.
Scientology.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are issues with all of those religions. You know, a lot of people like to paint Buddhism with this beautiful brush. It's actually got its own flaws, its own issues. And so yeah, I just disagree with every single fucking religion out there. Sorry, but I have strong feels about that. So yeah, I would be disappointed, but not hateful.
Yeah. They're still our kids and we love them very much.
Yeah, and I feel like any parent who disowns or disrespects their child just because they believe something different needs to rethink their ability to be a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that makes me more mad than most things.
And he has one more question. Why don't they serve sweet tea in Southern Ohio? It's bullshit.
They totally do, man.
All right, hold up. First of all, we kind of had this discussion, Johnny. You were asking if we consider Kentucky as part of the South. And I mentioned that I think the Kentucky and Ohio border is kind of like the cutoff point.
Where Ohio is north and Kentucky is south. Yeah.
Sometimes
Agreed.
I think Cincinnati can be like in
Southern.
the South. Yeah. But they definitely do serve sweet tea, but probably not quite like they do in the South.
Yeah.
Sweet tea is like everywhere in the South.
Well,
and like you order a tea and it's just automatically sweet tea. Here they actually ask you.
Yeah.
They actually,
and a lot of people order it unsweet. A lot of, like, I'm a server, so I know.
yeah.
But at O'Charlie's, they served sweet tea, and it was very, very sweet. It was like Southern sweet tea.
Yeah.
Of course, O'Charlie's is kind of like a Nashville style restaurant, so makes sense, I guess.
Yep.
Don't you worry about it, Johnny. Just relax.
You just drink your sweet tea in the South in Kentucky.
Find your own
we'll drink
beeswax.
our sweet tea up here in Cincinnati.
It's too sweet for me.
Depends on my mood. I like both.
Yeah. I like lemon flavored tea.
I like all kinds of tea.
All right, so John Willis said, where do you both come down on hotel Bibles? Take them, leave them, or put warning stickers on them? I don't
usually
know.
don't even bother.
I don't really care about hotel Bibles, really. I wouldn't take them. I feel like that's stealing.
Well, they leave them there for people to like take if they want them or need them.
Oh, for real?
I wouldn't say need if they want them.
Nobody needs it.
Yeah. So if you take one, they're just going to replace it.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, so I guess that's pointless.
I know some people like to write like crazy verses like in the table of contents or something, like Ezekiel, was it 23 or 31:30, something like that?
No, you got it totally wrong.
No, it's Ezekiel.
I know it's Ezekiel versus you got it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways.
Yeah, I know that David McAfee actually has a printout where he'll actually take printouts with him when he's traveling to put into Bibles, where it like shows some of the more vile verses in the Bible, and it kind of like points out to people like, hey, this may not be the moral book you think it is.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great way to do it. And I think it even has like questions to think about, like
That's a good
I don't
idea.
know. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I bet he has it on his website or something.
Yeah, there's probably a printout that you could like print and bring with you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he has printouts. I know that he's posted it before, and I've looked through it before. I'm not sure where on his website it is.
I was thinking you were saying that he has made them, but not made them available for other people to use.
Oh, no. He's made them available for other people to use.
All right. Abel Jones wants to know, what's your favorite place to eat? Good question.
I don't know that I have a favorite. Whenever that's like one of the security questions for something, I say Olive Garden just because that's where I met Patrick when we were both working there. So
And
it's like
it's still
the
good.
obvious answer that I'll always remember. I really do like eating at Olive Garden still.
I have a
But-
few like favorite types of restaurants, like Mexican.
Yeah, Mexican is good.
Not like Taco Bell, Chipotle Mexican, but like an actual Mexican restaurant. Sushi.
Sushi is amazing. I like, there's a restaurant called 50 West near us. It's actually a brewery.
My God.
They have fantastic craft beers, but also their food is phenomenal. So I would say that's one of my favorite places to eat, even though I've only eaten there a couple of times. Super, super good. I actually really like the food at Bar Louie, and I like the environment too, and how chill it is.
And their tater tots. They have loaded tater tots.
Loaded tots. Loaded tates. So yeah. I can't really nail it down to one place, but
Yeah, just depends on our mood.
yeah. We're very go with the flow type peoples. And we like to discover new things. Like, we're not the type of people who have like a certain restaurant that we always go to when we go on
Right.
dates and stuff.
I like change. We both like change.
Yeah.
And like trying new things.
I pretty much never order the same thing, except for at Olive Garden. There are a few dishes there where I'm just like, oh, baby, I know this is going to be good.
Yeah.
Like the ravioli de portobello. Rawr. Yum.
I'm still sad they got rid of pizza as a menu item. I used to make some bomb-ass pizzas.
Yeah, I used to put like broccoli on it and stuff.
Fried chicken and
Because you could like make it
bacon.
yourself in the back. Cause
use
we
Alfredo
worked
sauce as
there.
sauce. Pro tip, use Alfredo sauce as your sauce for the pizza instead of red sauce. It's amazing.
That's pretty common.
Is it?
It
Is
is.
it?
It is.
I doubt it.
It is. Chicken Alfredo pizzas. That's a thing, honey. So Rebecca says, I'm curious if you have the same political views or do you have the same taste in music? Okay. We'll answer the music one first because that's easy. Yes. Music was one of the things that got us talking in the first place.
Yeah.
As we were working at Olive Garden, I was talking about a concert I was going to.
And that I wanted to go to.
Yeah, you were wanting to go and you
But
were
I
like jealous.
wasn't able to.
And we start talking about music. And I'm like, oh my gosh, have you heard this band? You're like, dude, I saw them in concert. I'm like, well, screw you. I want to see them in concert.
Yeah, a band that you didn't think would be like very popular or like very well known.
They weren't. They weren't. They're from Sweden.
Yeah.
And I did not think that anyone I worked with would possibly know about them. And Patrick not only knew about them and liked them, but had been to one of their concerts. And they were one of my favorite bands. And I had never seen them live. Still haven't seen them live. So.
To expand on that, short answer, yes, we have a lot of same taste in music. We have like the same core tastes, but I also have extra tastes outside of that, and you have some outside of that as well.
Patrick
like, on
likes
different ends.
some crap music.
That's not true.
And I like some other
crap music.
other good music. Actually, I
Some
totally
more upbeat crap music.
I totally recognize that some of the music I listen to is kind of crap, but
some of the
it's
music I
more-
listen to is, but
yeah, the music that I listen to that Patrick isn't as into is like Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, and the reason I listen to that stuff is because it like lifts my mood. It's one of those things where if I want to stay in like an upbeat mood, then I'll throw on some Katy Perry and get all jazzed up or something. It's ridiculous. I recognize that it's not like superb music.
yeah.
But
And then
I like it.
I tend to listen to more heavy stuff. You like the same stuff, but I think I listen to it more, and
Yeah, but I like it.
I just said that.
What go ahead. It's fine.
And then I also listen to some blues, which
Blech.
you do not like.
Blech.
I think that's pretty much it.
Yep. So I listen to pop You listen to blues and everything else in the middle. We love.
And you don't like 90s grunge and like.
Yeah, not so much. I don't like the crap music you listen to.
That's not crap music. That's like what I grew up on.
I know. It's actually not bad music. It's just not quite my taste. I like heavy.
It's okay.
I like really heavy, but not all growling. I like there to be like a mixture of growling and singing. And I like for the music to actually be good with it. Like, you can't just put out an album that's just like and have it actually be creative. So one of the big bonding things that we had when we were dating is music and going to concerts. We saw Rise Against together. That was fun.
A couple times.
Yeah, it was Rise Against, Thrice, and
who else was
Gaslight something.
Gaslight Anthem?
Yeah. Yep.
Was that it? I thought there was maybe one other.
Possibly.
Maybe.
But they don't matter.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember them.
Those were the good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we enjoy going to concerts together. It's always a good time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Jumping in the mosh pit.
Indeed. All right. Next question.
This one is a great question.
Yeah. This is one of my new coworkers. Hannah says, do you guys like ... touch butts and stuff?
Yes.
Now, this could be answered a couple different ways, and the answer is yes to both. So it could be that we touch each other's butts, which is obviously an absolute yes. The other answer, or the other way you could look at it, is do we touch each other's butts together? Like, do I come up and like rub my butt on you? That is also true. So yes, Hannah, we touch butts. I love butts.
There's a meme that I saw a while back, and it's a screenshot from Lord of the Rings, where he goes, "One does not simply," that line, but it goes, "One does not simply walk through the kitchen and not touch a wife's butt." And
True
I
story.
fully agree with that.
Yep.
It's a healthy part of the relationship.
We pretty much grope each other every time we walk by each other. Almost.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, it feels weird to not reach my hand out and grab something.
All right, and we have just a couple more questions. Greg wants to know, what has been the fallout from your families based on the changes in your beliefs and lives? Good question, Greg. Surprisingly, not a whole lot. There's been some tough conversations and some ups and downs throughout, but overall, we still have good relationships with everybody in our family. Jenica's family, they're more open to having conversations about things, and that's kind of where this whole thing started anyways. So they all knew kind of like where we were at from the get-go.
Well, explain that. What do you mean by this is where it all started? That's where it all started?
Well, our journey into atheism started with your dad coming out as an atheist to the family, and we got some reference materials from him. We started doing our own research, and lo and behold, here we are.
Right. So yeah, it was actually like the blow of our atheism was a little bit cushioned by my dad's atheism and my brother's, because he had been out as an atheist for about 7 years at that point. So yeah, my family, they took it really well because they were kind of already there, already dealing with other family members who didn't believe.
Yeah.
Patrick's family took it really well and were respectful, but they had a lot more questions, a lot more points of argument. Like when we were talking to them about it, they were asking a lot of like challenging questions and stuff, which I expected, and I see no problem with that at all. Like, of course they're going to ask questions. Of course they're going to be like, well, what about this? So I think they responded really well to it. The only thing that I wish was different in that situation is I wish we could talk more openly about it. At this point, it's just the big elephant in the room and the thing that we just don't talk about at all.
Yeah, we have different opinions on that, and we all know it. but we just don't really discuss it.
Yeah.
But we all still love each other and like get along, and
Yeah, and they're wonderful grandparents, wonderful
yeah.
parents, and so
Yep.
yeah, it really hasn't been too bad with family. I've lost some friends, but those are friends that I probably don't want anyway, because if they're not gonna respect who I am, no matter what my beliefs are, then I don't really want them to be my friends anyway. So it kind of weeded out the crap friends.
Or the superficial ones.
Yeah, or like with a couple of friends who are actually, good people that I still really love. We just kind of drifted apart because our values changed. And our, one of my very best friends who was in my wedding even, we met and started talking because of a Bible study we were in together. And we connected because of our passion for the Lord. When I became an atheist, like, we really didn't have much to go on with our friendship. Like, there just wasn't much left that we connected on that we could really, talk about and be on the same page with. So we just kind of naturally drifted apart. And I don't hold it against her. I don't think she holds it against me. It's just one of those things, I have a ton of new friends. Tons and tons.
Yeah, awesome people.
Yeah, like hundreds of new friends who agree with my values and have the same values themselves, and so it worked out in the long run.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that as we were going through that, we also moved across the state.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a close connection with a lot of the people that we were friends with just because of location.
Yeah. It's true.
And that makes things a little bit more tricky to stay in touch and keep up with people. So,
yep. We got lucky. I've said this on the podcast before, but I'll say it again. It's one of the reasons why we do what we do, why we're activists, because we have the privilege to do it.
Right.
Like, we can be open without losing much.
Yep.
And I think that people who are in that position should use that, if they can, to make an impact, because not everybody can be open about what they believe. Not everybody can come out and not lose everything or lose some of the most important things in their lives. Patrick and I lost very little. It was uncomfortable at most. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate in that area.
Yeah. So that's why we do this. Because we can, and honestly, I feel like we should.
Yeah. And we know that not everyone can, so we want to be a support to those who can't.
Yep. My goal in life is to leave the best possible footprint in this world that I can.
Yeah.
So this question is a little bit more challenging, so we saved it for last. This is Jim Helton, the president of the Tri-State Freethinkers. He asked, what advice would you give to parents whose kids are bullied at school for being an atheist? This is a fantastic question. We actually had to pause our recording and think about it for a minute, because
talk about it.
We haven't been put in this position before as parents. And honestly, like, we're not totally sure.
Yeah, we can only speculate based on our position, because our kids are still pretty young and they don't get bullied for their beliefs at this point.
Yeah, but even if they did, like, this is something that we could give advice to other parents whose kids are going through that. So we just did like a quick little brainstorm on how we think we would handle it if someone came to us for advice, or if our kids were in this position. And I think maybe a good way, well, okay. So before I get to that point, Patrick, you had mentioned...
My idea was, well, not really an idea, just one area that could be useful, I feel like, is to be a known safe space for your kids, so that they know that if they are getting bullied for what they believe, for whatever, that they can safely and comfortably come to you to be able to talk about it and ask questions without any judgment or any kind of backlash. Because, I mean, obviously, if they're getting bullied, it's not their fault.
Right. And knowing that if something like that is happening, that it's nothing to be embarrassed about or ashamed of.
Right.
And that's something that you have to teach your kids, as they're growing up, so that if a situation comes up like that, they know it's wrong right away, and they know that they can come to you and tell you about it.
Right. And a lot of kids, when they get bullied, they shove it down and try to ignore it, and it has a lot of effects on them. And I feel like if the parents are able to talk to them openly, that would be a good outlet for them to be able to, I guess, kind of deconstruct their thoughts and
express themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you really can't help a kid who's getting bullied if you don't know they're getting bullied. So I thought that was really important that you brought that up. Something that I was thinking is that I think one of the ways you can combat bullying is like if you're forced to be in this environment with this person, which in school you're kind of like forced to be in this environment with them. First of all, tell the teachers, tell anyone who will listen to you, and try that route first to see if something can be done about it. If you don't have support from your teachers or your principal, kill the person with kindness. I was just going to leave it at kill the person.
That's where I thought you were going to leave it. I'm like, wait, what?
I mean, that's the other option, is just kick the fucker in the teeth. But no, like this person, this kid is being taught all around him that a non-believer, someone who doesn't believe in their religion, is a bad person. They're vile, they're immoral. They're being taught at home, probably. They're being taught in church, maybe even by teachers. And so they are going off of that and projecting this image onto you. If you throw off that image, like as the kid, like if you are being kind to them, if you are saying, I understand that that's what you believe, I understand that you think that this is who I am, but you're wrong. And I'd be willing to sit down and have a conversation with you about it, but I don't appreciate the way you're treating me. Like, just kind of, stand up for yourself and say, like, I am a good person and I can show you that I'm a good person if you can stop treating me the way you're treating me. Obviously, that doesn't usually work with bullies, but all you can do is just be yourself, be who you are, a good person, a humanist with good values. And, people are responsible for the way that they treat other people. You can't take what a bully says personally, because really it's just a reflection of the insecurities that they have. It's a reflection of how they are broken on the inside. So a lot of times, like, okay, for instance, I'm a bartender. I get treated like crap sometimes by customers.
Yeah.
Who are rude, who are condescending, who, complain about things that are ridiculous. And what I've learned to do over the years of customer service is recognize when those people are acting like that, it's most likely because they are miserable. And so to me, I have pity on them, like I feel sorry that their life is so miserable, or like that they're so negative, because I know that that negatively affects their life and, makes the people around them miserable. Like, if they're being rude to me, it's putting me in a bad mood. I'm being less friendly back to them. So they're surrounded by people who don't like to be in their presence. That makes me feel really sorry for them. So if you can kind of turn it around like that, it gives you more of a compassionate outlook on these people. Bullies suck. I can't stand bullies, but I do recognize that they are human beings with human flaws, and much of that comes from insecurity. And when it's a kid like that, like, they haven't had a whole lot of time in their life to grow and mature and to learn how to treat other people and to have an open mind. They are just taking what is being fed down their throat and projecting it onto other people. And a lot of times bullies have, bad home environments, or, they're being mistreated. And so they're lashing out at other people. So I think it helps to keep that in mind as well. It doesn't give them an excuse. Everyone is responsible for their own actions, but it's just something to keep in mind. We're all human, and our minds are flawed. we react to things in aggressive ways sometimes.
Yeah. I was listening to something recently where they're talking about how people act and how people respond to, like, when you're treated wrong. We typically tend to react to their reaction or their action. But if you stop and think about, all right, what's causing their reaction, then that's where you can start to solve some problems. Is go to the source instead of putting a Band-Aid on the action of the person.
Yeah, and how do you get to the source? You ask questions.
Yeah.
You dig deeper. You don't just react out of frustration to whatever's going on. You know, you can have a deeper conversation about it and figure out, okay, like where are these feelings coming from, and how can we find and take care of the root cause? Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, great question, Jim.
Yeah.
Loaded question. You made us think.
Yeah. If you guys have other suggestions or opinions on that, we would be happy to hear from you. If you want to either leave it in the comments on Facebook, either on my page or Patrick's, or on the Real Life Beyond Faith Facebook page under this episode. It would be great to hear what you guys have to say about that, and I'm sure it would benefit other people who see it too.
Or if you want, you can send us a private message either to one of us or to the Real Life Beyond Faith Facebook page or our email.
Yep. True story. We love hearing from people who listen.
Yeah. It happens occasionally, and it's always great to hear from our listeners.
Yeah, it's been
Get
happening
feedback.
more frequently lately, like hearing from people who have been impacted by the podcast, which is just like mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
So if you feel like you have something you want to say to us, feel free, because we love it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so I think that wraps it up for the questions on Facebook. There were also a couple of silly questions, but like they made the questions silly on purpose, so we didn't skip over you.
We just didn't have a good answer for you.
Yeah. It's like,
But we still
if
love
Peter
you.
Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, like that kind of question.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some great questions, and even though there weren't a whole lot of questions, we were still able to talk pretty extensively about them. So that was good.
Indeed. So now we'd like to thank our patrons.
Before we go on to thank our patrons, we want to add an addendum to Johnny's question
Oh my
about
God.
about agreeing on everything. Turns out we don't agree on everything. So just now, as I'm like double checking our patrons, making sure we don't have anybody new, it's the method on how we figure out if we have any new patrons.
He does it the wrong way and I do it the right way.
That's not even true. So there, we have a disagreement. My way is clearly better, though. It's easier.
Your way is the highway.
It is. So yeah.
So let's go ahead and thank those patrons.
Shall we?
Except it's kind of hard to know if we have any new ones because you do it wrong.
It's not. Yeah, let's keep moving.
Okay. We've already gone pretty long. All right. So let's thank our patrons. You guys are amazing.
First of all, thank you to everybody who is a patron. You guys rock.
Every single one of you.
Yep.
And then for those who are at the $5 or above level per episode, get to plug something at the end of every single episode. So first we would like to thank Rich Kemp, who wants us to plug Recovering from Religion, which is recoveringfromreligion.org, and it's an organization that supports people who are leaving faith. They have a chat line, a helpline, Just go to the website, and there's all kinds of resources for transitioning out of religion, or if you have questions and you're doubting what you believe, great resource.
All right, next we want to thank John Willis, who we actually just recently interviewed from the Wayward Willis podcast. He has a podcast with his son and...
Logan.
Yes, Logan, his son Logan. And they talk about secular humanism, education. Their goal is to publicize religious topics and discuss the effects of religion on a secular society in an entertaining way. And it really is entertaining. I recommend it.
They have a great dynamic.
Yeah, they're really enjoyable to listen to. So if you haven't listened to them yet, if you are curious, I recommend listening to their podcast. It's a good one.
But do you recommend it?
I recommend it. I highly recommend it. 3 times, 4 times.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. That's how you know it's good.
Yeah. It's all dependent on how many times Patrick recommends it.
Yep. It's at least 5 at this point.
Well, I'll definitely listen now.
You should. I recommend it.
Next, we would like to thank Marissa Alexa Lennox McCool, actually, because now she has a little extra name to her name. Did you catch that on Facebook?
I did see that.
She said that? Yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyway, Lennox is the last name of one of her partners. So, Marissa is awesome. She's one of our really good friends, and she is. What?
Yeah, she is awesome.
And she has a couple of podcasts. One is the Inciting Incident podcast. The other is The Sis Are Getting Out of Hand. The Inciting Incident podcast is a podcast.
But is it a podcast?
It's a current events podcast told through the skeptic perspective. Includes a great variety of guests and doesn't apologize for its pro-SJW stance. And I know that because I just read it off the website. But also, yeah, it's kind of awesome. And she brings on some really great, especially secular guests, like people from the community who are actually the best of the best from the community instead of the crapshoot ones, which there are a few. Not going to name names.
Not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I've been down that hole. Anyway, that's what she said. No, that's what he said. I feel like what? We're coming to the end of this episode.
I feel like we're getting out of hand.
Because the cis are totally getting out of hand.
Yes.
And Patrick and I are both cis. And we don't mean sisters. We mean like cisgendered. And if you don't know what that means, it just means that we identify with the gender that was assigned to us at birth. So the cis are getting out of hand. That podcast is about us getting out of hand. And it's a place for transgender people to talk about that stuff. It's a podcast made for trans people by trans people. And it's a safe space to just let out the frustration and to just talk about things and laugh about things. And they do skits at the beginning of, I think, every episode or most episodes that are really funny and also informative. Like, hey, this is how not to be a douchebag to a trans person. So it's really interesting. Yeah. And Ari Stillman does that podcast with Marissa, and they are very funny. So check it out.
Also, there's a special event coming up this summer in Chicago. Marissa and Bethany, the hosts for Inciting Incident, are hosting a 150th episode live in Chicago.
Yeah, and they have a few like really cool guest speakers that are going to be there. One of which just happens to be me. You know, because I'm like, awesome. No, actually, it was a giant, giant honor when she asked me. I was like, "Are you serious?" Me of all people, like, thank you so much. It's a huge, huge honor, and I can't wait. It's going to be June
23rd
23rd.
at the Den Theater in Chicago.
Yup. So, yeah, if you are nearby, or even if you're not nearby and you feel like making a trip out to Chicago, you should come out and see us. And it's going to be a good time. We went to the 100th episode live thing, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, yeah, coming out, and I will try not to drink too much wine this time.
It's for the best.
Yeah, turns out. I'm not an alcoholic anymore. It's fine.
We also want to thank Christopher Powell, who wants to plug Tri-State Freethinkers. The Tri-State Freethinkers is a large secular group in the Tri-State area. That's Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana. They do secular activism in the form of activism, community service, education, and social events. There's lots of different things that you can get involved in. Yeah, we've been going for a couple years now, probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great group.
And I'm a board member.
Yeah.
Wee. Last but not least, we'd like to thank Thomas Smith of Serious Inquiries Only, which is a podcast that takes a skeptical, critical thinking look at issues like politics, religion, science, social justice, all kinds of interesting topics, anything relevant, anything current. He invites on really cool guests and has really interesting conversations with them. His commentary is always really good. His research is impeccable. I love listening to him. I learned so much from that podcast. And
Yeah, we like Thomas.
he does a great job, like, looking into subjects and, you know, getting down to the bottom of things. And he also happens to be a great friend. So definitely check out his podcast. And yeah, we'll leave you with that.
And finally, we also want to thank the top patrons who don't have something to plug, and that would be Justin Krebs and Mark Ramsey. Thanks again, all you patrons. You rock, and all support is awesome. It helps.
Yes, thank you.
Well, that went way too long.
Oh my God, I know, right?
Sorry, guys.
Unless we're able to cut it down, in which case you'll be like, what do you mean it went long? But yeah. Anywho, y'all have a nice... Oh, I said y'all again.
Oh, no. We are not in the South.
Apparently we are.
I told Johnny we're not in the South.
I think maybe I'll change our, like, little outro thing to catch y'all next time.
No. You will be relieved of your duties.
Rude. Well, catch you next time. But in the meantime...
Keep it real.
Last but not least, we'd like to thank... What the fuck?
Supposed to wait until I click. Now you can talk.
Which is a podcast where Thomas talks about... Which is a...
That's great.
So those are our plugs. Those are our peoples. Cut that.
No, that's definitely going in the blooper reel.
Help me, I'm getting slap happy.